of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Christie, could you call the roll, please?
That's fine.
Here.
Paul Bukowski.
Here.
John Mallow.
Here.
Jackie Marsh.
Here.
Jim Thompson.
Here. Before we go any further, I guess we should introduce our newest board member, new city manager, Jim Thompson. So if you haven't met Jim, here he is. Welcome. Chief, anything you'd like to add there?
No, we had the opportunity to formally introduce him to the LFRA audience, I guess, at the badge pinning, and had the opportunity for him to take the oath. So we appreciate you being there. Sorry to put you on the spot there, but we do appreciate it. So.
You think we should do a round of introductions? So
Absolutely. It's a great idea. And Jim, if I could ask you just real briefly, tell everybody about yourself and a little bit of your history, then we'll just go around the table and return the favor.
Okay, thank you. I think everybody knows Jim Thompson. I'm the new city manager here, so I'm still trying to figure everything out. And challenging has some issues and a lot of opportunities, so I'm excited about it. Full circle in life for me. Right after I graduated my undergrad years ago, I won't fill in that blank, but I lived here. Moved directly here from literally 3 days after I graduated. I moved to Colorado, lived here and commuted to Denver and worked for First Interstate. Served in Sterling as a deputy city manager and finance director for 8 years, and then went to Arizona and spent most of my career there for the last 30. Short little time in the Seattle area, managing a city up there. And so again, look forward to all the opportunities here and making a difference in the community. So thank you for having me.
Well, we're looking forward to working with you, Jim. Thanks for taking this job on.
I'm leaving it alone. I'm loving every minute.
Jim and I talked briefly before, but I've got a lot of connections with him, having lived in Casa Grande and had a business in Bullhead City and lived in Scottsdale. And yeah, so we're gonna have to get together and talk about Arizona someday, but I'm the chairman of LFRA and also on the rural fire district, and been involved with the Fire Rescue Authority since 2009. Yeah, Mayor?
Yeah, Loveland Mayor Jackie Marsh. I'm on this commission for just over a year.
John Mallow, 11 City Council, ditto.
I'm Emily Powell. I'm legal counsel to the authority and have been representing the authority since 2016. Right, are we going through?
Yeah, we had the opportunity, much like the mayor and the mayor pro tem. So you've met our executive staff. The one individual that you did, Paul Bukowski, you met him at our badge pinning. So I think.
Yeah, hi, I'm Paul. I'm the Invisible Man. I had the opportunity to meet Jim at the badge pinning and chatted with him for a bit. Vice chair of the LFRA and also serve on the rural board. Welcome, Jim. We need your help.
Thank you.
What about people in the audience?
Yeah, if we could ask, start with Matt, just go around people in the audience, introduce yourself.
Matt Dedecker, wildfire coordinator for LFRA.
Carrie Dan, fire marshal.
I'm Paul Pfeiffer. I'm a member of FRAC, the Fire and Rescue Advisory Commission. Cole Kramer, over Lands and Trails.
Ryan Baldwin, CFO of the city.
Got any questions for us? Okay, thanks, everybody. Chief, do we have any amendments? Any change? Okay. And I know we have some awards and presentations, and I'll let you kick that off, Chief.
All right, thanks, Mr. Chairman. We have Cole Kramer with us from Is it parks or open lands?
It's the Parks and Recreation Department, and Open Lands and Trails is a division with it.
There you go. Sorry, I didn't clarify that earlier. So I'll turn it over to Cole.
Thank you. Do I stand or
Sure,
move
sure.
around? You let me know. So, hi, everybody. I'm Cole Kramer with Open Lands and Trails. Our program consists of more than 5,500 acres of land and more than 60 miles of trails. And our properties are set aside for public recreation and natural resource and habitat conservation. That's a little bit about us. Today, I'm here to recognize Lieutenant Matt DeDecker. Lieutenant DeDecker has been a fantastic partner to the City of Loveland's Open Lands program, and I wanted to share appreciation for the work he's been engaged in. Just to give one really brief example, at the end of last year, our staff reached out to Lieutenant DeDecker to have him oversee a burn on a feeder ditch on a city-owned property. The burn was originally planned to be conducted by a tenant farmer who leased that property from the city. And he grows crops on that property, which is adjacent to Boyd Lake. Lieutenant DeDecker sat with that for a little while, and then he ended up contacting me and reached out and wanted to know if he could conduct the prescribed burn himself on that property with the use of his seasonal field crew. And correct me if I get any of the names or titles wrong. He felt that the ideal weather and their combined experience would lead to a better overall outcome for the property. Our staff met with Lieutenant DeDecker on site to discuss our goals for the prescribed burn and left him and his field crew to do what they do best. Within several hours, the prescribed burn had been completed safely by Lieutenant DeDecker and his seasonal crew, and with outstanding results. This is just one such situation in which Lieutenant DeDecker has gone above and beyond in service to the city, making excellent use of the resources at his disposal. Open Lands and Trails staff was extremely impressed with the outcome and appreciative of the fact that this work was completed in a safe, timely, and professional fashion. Open Land staff even received pictures of the firefighters in action, which we were able to give to our oversight board as well. We're truly privileged to have the opportunity to work with the professionals at LFRA and always appreciative of their assistance in the management of our lands. This collaborative partnership has been mutually beneficial, not only utilizing LFRA's new air curtain burner for fuels reduction on our properties, but also our field staff providing the use of our chipper for fuels reduction in other areas as well. Lieutenant DeDecker has taken the lead on many of these operations on behalf of LFRA and should be commended for his interdisciplinary approach to land and fuels management. So thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
From the LFRA side, your crew has been instrumental. We cannot change the forest over, we cannot make property safe alone. So it's that intermix is critical to what we're doing. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. And hopefully you enjoyed lunch on us.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I reached out to Kara, who is the head of Parks and Recreation, and expressed our appreciation. Cole's I guess he got the short straw to come over and do the recognition, but we so appreciate it. You said it best as far as the collaboration. And I think it's important for you all to hear this. What Matt said is so critical. We can't do it alone. Parks can't do it alone. Open Lands can't do it alone. And it is such a great relationship for them to feel free to call us. We're happy to lend our expertise, and then for them to reciprocate the favor by allowing us to use the chipper truck. So we used that on Pole Hill Road, which is an egress access point. That was a high hazard, high risk for our community. So for them to let us use that really diversified what we could do. So we greatly appreciate that as well. So thank you.
And Chief, if I could just expand one additional point. I nominated Matt DeDecker for a city award that's within the city staff at the Civic Center. HR let me know that they don't do a reciprocation. So this was us trying to further that along a little bit, and we had sent Matt a nice gift card to Panera, I believe it was. So.
All right.
Thanks, cool. Yes, sir.
Emily, I think it was less than $50. So
That's a nice one.
It's up to 70.
75 is the state.
I think was that Brandon, that was the new one is up to 75.
that's a hint, Cole. Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you, man. Appreciate all the good work.
Okay, Chief, anything else you'd like to bring up or recognize?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I shared with you that I don't want to rob a bank with you. I had talked to the chairman. I said, hey, I would like to do one additional thing today, if you don't mind. It's not on the agenda, but I think it's important that we do this. LFRA has policies on how we recognize people, years of service, and what we do for each one. So it's fair and equitable across the board. Typically, that's when you depart the organization. Upon retirement, you're recognized for your years of service. Well, there's a gentleman sitting to my right who has contributed 30 years. And I would say 30 years is not the whole picture. You all know this incredibly well. Chief Ward has served LFRA, Loveland Fire Department prior to that, incredibly well. And I certainly don't want to wait. I don't want to rush him to retirement either. But I thought it'd be appropriate. He's celebrating he's doing his 30th year this year. And I thought it would be appropriate to let you all know that. And we went out and we splurged. We got him cookies. It's not anything like that. But I just think it's appropriate that we recognize Chief Ward for his 30 years. That's pretty remarkable. So I've got a certificate for him and a little bit of a cash prize that we give as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Chief.
We appreciate it.
Thanks for all your service, Greg.
Yeah, we'll wait till we get the big red truck. How's that? What we got.
He's also the youngest person ever in the state of Colorado to get his fire inspector one.
There you go. Didn't know that.
I was the first person under the age 18 in the state of Colorado to achieve firefighter one back in 1987.
So I think he's older than 36. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Chief, you gotta explain to everybody about me robbing a bank. I think I left the water.
I think it was kind of like, hey, don't let the secret out of the bag, and he walked from our meeting right into Chief Ward and said, hey, congratulations. Christy and Cheryl and I are like,
I was wondering, how did Chairman's wanting that?
It's not helping me.
you asked me to carry a bag of money. I didn't want to.
Everybody knew you've been around 30 years.
That's
You're still surprised, all right?
Yep.
So I can go to a surprise birthday party or something else somebody might be throwing on or throwing.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So it worked out. Thank you. That's all I had.
All right. We've got some public here. Anybody like to make a comment out there? Paul, you made a nice comment to me earlier. Why don't you share it with everybody on the horse rescue? I thought that was important.
Oh, I was just kidding around with the chief before the meeting that I wanted to send them an email to see how quickly we could get a ballot measure going. Because the outpouring of positive response on the horse rescue was just phenomenal. As we were kidding around, you can't pay for publicity like that. And just a great kudos to the crews.
Truly went viral.
Yes.
Yeah, across the entire country. And Chief Smith told me that's the second time we've rescued that same horse. So it's on a schedule now, so it will be coordinated.
Maybe science.
No, that is great publicity and well deserved. And we've had it before, not just that horse. I think there was another horse. There's been several times we've rescued horses or farm animals, and another time where you guys rescued some baby ducks out of a storm drain. And that stuff does go viral. Public absolutely loves it. May not be our first responsibility, but it goes a long ways to making people feel good about their firefighters. Thank you. Okay, that takes us to our consent agenda. I believe there's only one thing on here. Would anybody like to see that pulled or any comment? I'll take a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting then, consent agenda.
so moved.
Second.
Any further conversation? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Aye.
There's that ghost. That'll take us into our regular agenda. And first up, we have a motion to adopt resolution R-170 established in 2025 board meeting location, time, dates, designating the location for posting meeting notices of the LFRA. So Chief, do you want to comment on that?
I'll let Christie address that. That's more in her.
This is our typical, every January, we have to re-approve our meeting dates, times where we're posting our notifications about meetings, things like that. This is just our typical thing. I believe it is still the last Wednesday of every month at 1:30.
Any comments there? I have one if nobody else does.
December 31st, is that a day that you want to have
No,
a meeting?
No, and the other one was like the day before Thanksgiving, I believe. So I think we're gonna need to change both November and December. We can do that now or we can do it later. So what's easiest for you and your staff, Chief?
Christie, do you have alternative dates you could recommend?
Yes. Give me 1 second. So it looks like if we went the week before the November meeting would be November 19th. So that would probably be acceptable to everybody. Okay. And then the challenge with December is that the week before the normal meeting is Christmas Eve. So we could put it on the 17th, which would be 2 weeks before the normal meeting.
That might be the rurals meeting. I don't know for sure. They're the second Wednesday.
That would be the week before that.
Okay,
So, yep, so we would be the week after the rurals meeting.
okay. Any conflicts? All right, if I could have a motion to pass with those adjustments, that would be good.
So move as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further conversation? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion
Aye.
carries. Okay, next, conduct a public hearing, consider motion to adopt resolution R-171 to de-appropriate 2195 from the LFRA general fund to correct administrative error. So we need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All. Ghost? Oh,
I'm sorry, I was coughing. Aye, sorry about that.
is that a yes? Well, the majority.
That is a yes. That's a yes. That's a yes.
Thank you.
And I will certify for the record that notice of today's public hearing was duly published as required by law, and there were no public comments provided prior to today's public hearing.
Okay, before I open up the public comments, Chief, anything you'd like to say here?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is just an administrative cleanup from the 24 to 25 budget. As you know, we had transition of a couple personnel at the finance manager position. So this de-appropriation of 2195 is just basically true up the 2025 budget. So I'll let Andrea add any additional if she has any.
That's basically just an error with staff turnover and fixes.
Okay, I'll open up for board discussion. Any? Okay, take a motion that would move out of public session. Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Back in regular session. And like to hear a motion to go ahead and pass the amendment.
I move to, let's see, adopt resolution R 171 to deappropriate $2,195 from the LFRA general fund to correct and administrative error.
Good job, thank you.
You're most welcome. Don, you're sleeping on the job. Where's the second?
Second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Right?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Number 4, consider motion to approve updated IGA for the assessment and collection of fire impact fees within the city of Loveland, Larimer County, and town of Johnstown. Chief?
So, Mr. Chairman, this is the first step of a 3-step process to get these fees approved. So we have to go to all jurisdictions that we serve. So if you turn to 43 of 93, those are the revised impact fees. If you look at that, this is directly from a 2021 Nexus study that Chief Miller initiated prior to his departure. So I just want to remind you, we were operating off of a 2021 Nexus study. He had adopted fees or asked you to adopt fees less than what was recommended within that Nexus study at the time. We were just basically carrying through with the Nexus study, and then we will be coming back at a later date to advocate for a new Nexus study, because obviously we're already 4 years behind. Chief Dan is here. She can discuss anything in regards to the fees. I should tell you that comparably with our neighbors, we're not even close. So, I mean, if anybody wanted to compare neighbor to neighbor, we were in a very advantageous spot, but also in a spot where we probably need to readjust it.
Chief, you were sharing with me earlier, our cost versus Bertha. Did you share that with the board?
Yeah, I don't want to draw too much attention to Berthoud's fee structure versus ours, but if we went down comparatively to an industrial facility, Berthoud would probably be getting like $40,000 more than us on the same exact structure. So one would say, don't you want to jump yours all the way up there? When you look at all of our fees across the board, it starts to balance out. Industrial is not our big ticket item. So basically using the Nexus study, there really wasn't a need for us to jump to that. So we're comfortable with what we're sharing with you today. So we are going to advocate doing another Nexus study to basically review these fees moving forward. Chief Dan, did I hit everything there for you?
Yes.
Good answer.
Conversation from the board? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve the IGA as presented.
I'd like to make a motion to approve updated intergovernmental agreements for the assessment collection of fire impact fees within the city of Loveland, Larimer County, and town of Johnstown.
Second. Emily, did you have a?
Nope, I was just gonna make sure we got all 3 of them included in the motion, but we did.
Okay.
I read your mind.
Further comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, Ghost.
Sorry, Jeff.
You need to start a little earlier.
All right, John, I'll try. Gee.
We don't mean to keep waking you up. Okay, next, item 5, consider a motion to approve First Amendment to construction contract for the renovation of the LFRA Health and Wellness Clinic. Chief, is that you?
So, Mr. Chairman, this is, we have already awarded this contract. Because this is a federal grant, as you recall, this was a $500,000 federal appropriation under Congressman Goose. And then we have some additional funding to finish out that project. Within a typical federal grant, there is a lot of restrictions, as I have learned the hard way. But one of it is about products that you buy and pay scales that you offer. That is typically Buy American, pay XYZ wages. That is not part of this grant. So the way the contract was written, it did have that requirement in there, but in fairness to the contractor, this amendment basically takes that out, which is in compliance with the federal grant, so. That's really all it is just being fair to the contractor and just revising or amending the contract that is currently in place.
Okay, Chief, so to verify, we're being asked to approve the first amendment to construction contract.
Correct. And it's just correcting, and Emily wrote it, so if she wants to add something to it. It's just basically correcting the language to be reflective of the grant requirements.
Yeah, there's an enormous number of federal requirements that attach when you take federal money. And so we had taken LFRA's standard construction contract and we had added an addendum that incorporated all of those additional federal requirements. It was then, the question was asked, do these specific provisions Buy and Build America apply to the grant? And so we dug into it quite deeply and said, I actually don't think that it does. Then they talked with the city of Loveland. City of Loveland said, let us look at it. And they came to the same conclusion. Those don't apply to this contract and we don't know why, but they don't. And so we took them out of the contract. It's going to allow easier acquisition of materials and faster. So we just didn't want to be contractually imposing an obligation that otherwise doesn't exist. And it's going to make the project more expensive and to complete. So all we're doing is taking those two terms out.
Jim?
Yeah, if I may, obviously, we're reducing the requirements from the original contract and they're not having to provide the performance bond, which has a cost to it. And did they calculate that and reduce the contract price by that being removed in that requirement? Because there is a cost of performance bonds. And
Well, they've already provided the performance and payments bond. And
but we're removing another requirement. So they obviously didn't offer up any change, but it would be something to circle back on.
yeah, Chief would have to ask. I don't know if they factored the Buy and Build America provisions into their contract price, and if so, whether the contract price is reduced as the result of no longer having to comply with those provisions. Chief, do you know?
We did, Brian's here, we did talk on, Keatsy Jackson is the city's grant coordinator and serves that purpose for LFRA as well. We had that brief conversation. I mean, it works to the contractor's benefit, you know. I mean, we're being transparent with the contractor by sharing this amendment. So I think that remains open. We'll find out what their position will be. Does that make sense?
Any more questions, Jim?
No.
Very comfortable with the answer. Okay, great. Other questions? Comments? Okay, take a recommendation, we approve the First Amendment or a motion.
All right, I guess I move to approve First Amendment to construction contract for the renovation of the LFRA Health and Wellness Clinic.
Second.
Further comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good.
Timing is everything.
All right, Chief, takes us to our favorite part, review briefing papers and correspondence.
And I appreciate every bit of sincerity you share with that comment. So I will be brief with this, but I do want to take advantage of Jim being here and kind of elaborating on some of these topics just because you're here.
So it's my fault.
No, absolutely not. I do this brief, but I think I do. Anyway, so one of the things we traditionally do is share the correspondence that I receive or the administrative staff receives. This first correspondence from Justin Calgary. Justin is a firefighter in Wyoming, was involved in an auto accident. Chief Ward took the initiative to assemble a couple of our personnel. He was hospitalized in Denver, and some of our crews went down there. He was at MCR, I'm sorry. So he was here locally, but the point being is we had some of our crews go over there and visit with him, make sure that he was doing well as a fellow firefighter. And then this is Justin kind of giving us a progress report and thanking us for the visit. So thanks to Chief Ward and the crew from 46A and Tower 46A and Squad 46A, as well as Captain Schutz. This is correspondence from Desiree Click, who ran an HOA meeting out at Station 6. This is just really just to share the fact that customer service that's offered by our personnel, whether it be on the streets or something simple like this. They were conducting an HOA meeting at Station 6. Our crew checked on them, made sure they had everything, and then when they concluded their meeting, did the same. So HOA group just reaching out to Leah, expressing their appreciation for that as well. So I'm gonna read this one real quick. Yeah, hang on, I'm not familiar with this one, so.
So the top one is the grant, notice of intent.
Oh, so this is the first one. This is a project that Chief Smith is working on, the HMGP grant. So as you know, in July, August, 3 fires basically simultaneously broke out, one being the Alexander Mountain Fire. So what the state has done is created this HMGP grant process that we are eligible for, as will the other agencies involved in the other 2 fires, up to $1 million. So we are working through this grant process to hopefully kind of beef up our mitigation efforts and all the preemptive work to potentially prevent a future fire. So we'll see where that goes. We're pretty proud of that as well.
You said state, right?
Yes,
I can
yes.
see that part, okay.
It is the state, but the federal, we got good news on the federal side too, so.
That's the one I'm worried about.
Yeah, we're all worried about.
I'll elaborate on that one here in just a second, so, Christie, can you help me
I
with this?
believe that was also a smoke detector and the crews wouldn't take a donation on scene, so she.
Yeah,
Seriously.
Jim, the rest of the board has heard this story so many times, and I'm sure you heard it in Scottsdale, but we go out in a non-emergent fashion to anybody that's needing assistance with their smoke detectors, installation, inspection, what have you. And we get quite a bit of correspondence to it. Many times it's from the elderly, many times from a cathedral style ceiling. But this one here, crews being offered a donation. They don't accept the donation, but this individual's expressing their appreciation. So just want to share that with you. Emergent, non-emergent setting, our folks are doing the right thing. So I think that's important. This is inter-office. So this is Bob Paulison expressing his appreciation. Says, perhaps needless to say, I'm very happy with the commission's recommendation of approval to city council. Trying to think of who he's thanking. This is actually to Chief Dan. Her cooperative work with Carrie Bichette and Development Services on the Legacy Crossing project. So figures Chief Dan just walked out. But again, interdepartmental work, just collaborating with our other departments. Sorry, I'm screwing these up. I should have read them all beforehand. This one for Chief Ward and Fire Marshal Dan, on behalf of Platte Valley Fire Protection, wanted to extend their heartfelt gratitude to Loveland Fire Rescue Authority for Terry Soderstrom's and Jared's participation in our recent assessment center. So we oftentimes get asked to support other departments in their promotional process. So this is one we don't get on a regular basis. So for Chief Ward staff and CSD staff to be able to support another department in the selection of an inspector, we're happy to do that, and they recognized it. Paul had mentioned it. Oddly enough, we had it captured in here. This is actually a well-known, I will say, an incredibly well-known website, firehouse.com. I will say that because I ran that website for many years. But they actually reached out to me asking if they could use our photos, which is typical of a website. But it's not about me, it's about this story just going absolutely viral. Our crew did a fantastic job of getting this horse out. I think there were over 2,500 likes on one site, and then it went viral all across the country, to include news in Charlotte, if I'm not mistaken.
What's the name of the horse?
Yeah.
Sunny.
Sunny.
Yeah, so it was a sunny day on more than one occasion. This is actually at Blue Arena. This is kind of your jumbotron. I'll let Chief Ward kind of elaborate on this, but I want to give Chief Ward kudos for taking the initiative to make this happen. Chief Ward was contacted by the folks at Blue Arena. I think it was through the hockey team, right? They wanted to recognize first responders and veterans. Chief Ward took the initiative to make sure one of our members was recognized. So I'll let you go ahead.
You click on the link at the top, it's very short. Video.
Oh, gotcha. I don't think this is the link.
There it is.
To the Air Force in May of 1962. He served in the Air Force as a equipment repairman for 4 years. He then joined the Loveland Fire Department in 1973.
Jim, this is usually done very seamlessly.
Airman First Class Brand Lions enlisted in the Air Force in May of 1962. He served in the Air Force as a communications equipment repairman for 4 years. He then joined the Loveland Fire Department in 1973 as a volunteer firefighter, before being hired as a career firefighter and eventually being promoted to fire captain. Petty Officer Second Class Mark Lyons enlisted in the United States Navy in 1989 and served on board the aircraft carrier USS America, working on the catapults on the flight deck. Lyons served in Panama, Kuwait, and Iraq, receiving numerous commendations before being discharged. He then returned home to join the Loveland Fire Department as a volunteer firefighter, just like his father did. Mark Lyons has served as a captain for Loveland Fire since 2015. Tonight, we are honored to be joined by father and son, Fran and Mark Lyons. On behalf of the Eagles, Freddy's, Frozen Custard, and Steak Burgers, and our fans.
That was first responder night with the Eagles when they honored them.
That's awesome. Awesome. I've known the captain for a lot of years and he can always find the camera.
His enthusiasm's not.
He's all over Facebook, all the time.
All right, so we're proud of both of them. Fran, being his dad, obviously been retired for a number of years, but I appreciate Chief Ward taking the initiative to have our folks recognized.
Sure.
All right. Again, I want to express my appreciation for everybody that was able to make the annual badge pinning. And also, Jim, you're swearing in or taking the oath. We appreciate that as well. Couple things on inclusion requests. This is more on the rural side. But I just want to give you an update. We've had a number of inclusion requests, one being from Johnstown. This was for a Baker Sky subdivision. I called this to the chairman's attention and President Liggett's attention in the fact that this actually is on the west side of I-25, which obviously gives us some concern because the agreement that we have is basically anything south of 402. Front Range basically goes with Johnstown. But we never had that IGA. We now have that IGA. That IGA is actually with Front Range Fire Rescue, who is a partial provider to Johnstown as well as Johnstown. So I'd never seen that formal IGA. So we requested that IGA. We were able to review that IGA. It's a lot more restrictive than where Johnstown goes, Front Range Fire Rescue goes. There are stipulations, and in this particular case, it does not identify any property on the west side of I-25. So actually, the individual who was submitting the application withdrew it. So there wasn't any point of contention. I had met with the city town manager, and he was in full agreements even before seeing it. He's not in agreements for Front Range Fire Rescue to come across I-25. So we were able to conclude that one pretty quick, and that has been pulled. City of Loveland, 119 acres, the annexation, it's coming with the Schumer Farm. I guess it's coming up on the next council meeting. So we received that. At this point, we'll basically carry through with that.
I don't know if it's the next meeting or the one after that. I think the Millennium Agreement is the one coming up on Tuesday. From Schmear Farm, I think, is after that.
Yep.
So, Jim, there's really not a whole lot from our perspective because Loveland Rural Fire Protection District is basically who has that property at this point, but it's all covered by the LFRA. So it's a formality in this particular case on our end. So, but it does bring up an interesting situation as we kind of talk about contributions from the city and the rural. There is this constant, as the city grows, it eats away at the rural's geographical area. So there's a bigger conversation that I think we need to have about that. There's nothing within the IGA that basically adapts or modifies the contributions based on annexation. So,
Chief,
yes.
I've got a quick question if I could. In your conversations with the good folks at Johnstown, is there some sort of an agreement between you and the city manager and or chief to have discussions before these things get formalized? If there's a discussion that can be had before they want an inclusion, or excuse me, want to be excluded from our service area, is there some way that we can have that conversation before it goes down this road as it did last couple of weeks ago?
There's nothing formal within the IGA itself. I mean, certainly we have the relationship with the town manager and the fire chief to have those conversations. In this particular case, I mean, they have to exclude from us before they can include on the other side. Emily, correct me if I'm wrong. Otherwise, they're going to be double taxed. So it works to their advantage to exclude first and foremost before they include into another fire protection district. I don't sense
right.
this is a heated topic or anything.
Okay, that's what I just would, is if we can have these conversations before it has to go to attorneys and we have to get all spun up on it. That was my point. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah.
So Chief, let me ask you, since we do have on this coming Tuesday, coming up, the increase in residential request for Centerra South, the Millennium GDP. I'm being told it's like 40 units per acre, so I assume that's taller apartment buildings than we might have. Does that in any way affect your fire stations and equipment? Any, to have?
100%.
Okay.
100%. You increase the density, you increase the call volume. I'm not so concerned about the elevation.
Okay.
Because if you look at it, that's probably the best location you could do it because Tower 46 straight across the street from there. But the importance, and this is where the broader conversation of what a district brings to us is when you increase density, and I tell oil and gas folks, I tell every developer, doesn't matter to me what you develop. Okay, as the fire chief, I have a responsibility to build an organization to protect what you're building. That's our conversation. So trust me, that catches my eye. I don't have a dog in the fight from the perspective of pushing back, but I appreciate you recognizing it is going to change the dynamics of our response.
Apartments next to it are like 24 units per acre, so give you an idea of the increased density. Yeah. Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
Sure.
Jim, yes.
Make a point, yeah, with the passage of the impact fees, though, that's depending on those numbers. I mean, at 950 a unit, that at least give the impact fee. Granted, it's going to be capital costs and other stuff associated with that, but that starts to help immensely. I think on those numbers, it's not the operational side. That's where we'll have the challenge. Call volumes go up, but definitely that's why I'm appreciative we're putting those in place. At least we can start, dealing with the issues we have in that scenario when they're created. But it won't resolve the operation or call volume numbers. I get down to.
Chief, this question's you or Mayor, whoever. 40 units per acre, what's that gonna do to the population growth in that area?
I would say at least 40 people per acre. No, I'm not.
How many acres? I mean, there must be like
It's 190
2.5 people on an average or something per unit. I mean,
I think the original approval was something around 12 to 1,400 units, and they're asking for an increase of about 2,400, 23 to 2,400 additional units on top of what was previously approved. It's less than 4,000, but it's
less than 4,000 people or
units. And you figure, what is the ratio we use? 2.5 people per
2.5.
unit? Yeah.
So 6,000, no, be more than that, it'd be 10,000.
And it's over, I think the project spans 10 years, am I correct? Yeah.
At least what I'm hearing, they've been working on it for a long time, and likewise with the, you know, the annexation of the farm next door, and I think that's part of it too, is tying those together. Even though they are separate, we've been keeping them separate from a staff perspective. But you need the transportation improvements that would be done in this project to give access to the other and some of those regional to the south side connection points that would otherwise then still isolate that one piece that's along the interstate there. So, you know, there's reasons they're coming together. And I think that's been the complexity. At least I understand the history in my short, you know, discussions I've had is that it really all needed to come together, or you would have another isolated piece that wouldn't be able to be served or otherwise provide for. So kind of why they're coming together now.
Chief, with the addition of a grocery store out there, a rather big one, I understand. I haven't seen the presentation. Does that change your apparatus or the equipment you have to be on hand, or?
No, I mean, it's another commercial, I mean, we got a structured response for that type of venue.
Okay.
So no, and obviously those are littered out there, not necessarily a grocery store, we know the history there, but we have similar structures out there, so we are equipped out there. But it's to the point that Jim had mentioned in the mayor, I mean, the density does bring volume. And we monitor that. I'm not saying, hey, that equates to, 10 more firefighters. We monitor that. And that's one of the things I wanted to call to Jim's attention is LFRA by the numbers. We monitor our run volume, our density, where the incidents that are occurring. So we'll track that and we'll be able to see the trend as that is developed and say, give this forewarning that, hey, we've got a lot of volume out there. We're going to need to add X, Y, and Z. So.
Do we have any issues with roundabouts and the size of our equipment?
Well, Chief Dan's not here, but she does, I'll let Chief Smith speak on this too, but I will say this. Chief Dan does a fantastic job of being part of the development process, engaging with the other departments, make sure we're well represented. I mean, if you think about it, just a trip to the airport, if you leave McWhinney Boulevard, Station 6, to go to the airport, you're going through 5 of those. So we're pretty well versed. Most of the time, I don't think we're rounding them off.
No, she does an excellent job. She pays attention to the building size, like you mentioned, the setbacks that exist from those roundabouts. And then she engages operations if there's questions. So we watch it very closely.
Do we have one ladder truck?
Technically one, we have a reserve sitting in the background.
And where's that stationed at?
That's Tower 46.
Yeah,
but we do run another ladder when the rescue is being worked on. So we some days do have a ladder and a tower operating, and that's out at Station 2.
So I would see that as an area with the potential of having some taller buildings where that might be important. I guess the reason for my question, if you go west on First Street, when you get out by Mariana, I always wonder, there's a tight little traffic circle there, if that goes out the direction, if a ladder truck could even get around that circle.
They typically will drive over it. Yeah,
you caught me, we do round that one off.
Yeah, I just said it's important to have, make sure, and it sounds like you're on top of it on these traffic circles, that there's plenty of room.
Yeah, that's probably the worst, best example we have.
Yeah, that's Engine 43, there's a senior care facility right down the street from there. They go there quite often. Yeah, they just ride over it. But I believe that one's set for to be reconstructed too.
It should be.
Yeah.
And not just because of that, they have like a little, I think it's for bicycles to get in, turn in. It's wide enough some cars actually get in there and try and maneuver around the circle where it's designed for a bicycle.
Yeah, it doesn't work out too well.
The only way that one got approved when we worked on it was that that center was flat where you could just take a fire truck straight over the top because it's not big enough for our normal requirements.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear they're reworking it. That one kind of sneaks up on people too, if they're coming east and they come up to it, they don't realize there's a traffic circle there.
Good
They're
ramp
there.
when you come from that direction.
Chief, will you be in attendance Tuesday night in case we have questions?
Sure,
All right, appreciate that.
you bet.
That means be there.
Loud and clear.
Okay.
We'll say it again, Jim, that's part of the slides, so we want to welcome you again. I wanted to make sure I hit that. This next one, LEDA complaints. It is a complaint at this point. I wanted to call to the board's attention. The Alexander Mountain Fire, as you were well aware, took out 9,668 acres. What most people don't know is CenturyLink is the primary connection to 911 service to Estes Park. When that fire broke out, strategically, you kind of set everything aside. You say, what do we have at risk? Lives being priority one. Then you start basically working through property and infrastructure. Loveland wastewater treatment plant was a priority, a very high priority. If the winds would have started drawing to the east, that would have been a critical infrastructure loss. 82,000 people affected, if not more. The other one that people did not know is CenturyLink. Those lines are above ground, basically running parallel with 34. Those lines were impinged upon, and those lines were a primary operational focus, which drew away from some of the residents. And I would say contributed to some of the redeployment of personnel and apparatus. So with that, LEDA is leading the charge. They have filed a complaint, a formal complaint against CenturyLink. They have asked us, they asked me to do a deposition. I did a deposition with them as the representative of LFRA. There will be other depositions. But the point here is it is a critical infrastructure. They should never put in a single line for 911 services. This is not the first complaint against CenturyLink. CenturyLink has said they've had diverse communications to Estes. They have not been able to prove that at this point. So I'm just updating you. There's no ill effect to the LFRA. I'm simply speaking as someone who was at the Alexander Mountain Fire, and I'm sure they're going to come to other members of our organization who played a role that day. So just FYI. And Kelly Duke is working on that. Kelly Duke is with Emily's office. So we're well represented and we'll keep you informed. Next item is Mod 48 seasonal mitigation crew. Just giving you an update. We finished that first season. So Jim, we had 4 seasonal mitigation crew members. First time we've ever had that. It was incredibly successful in the fact that I think we brought them on in July. And then we had the Alexander Mountain Fire July 29th. So timing couldn't have been better. But we are now in the second season. Bringing them on in July, we've identified through Matt's expertise, that's not the best time to bring them on. We were late to the game. So Matt is working with our HR to basically bring on 4 new in March. So the importance there is working with utilities, Kevin Gerdig and Sharon, working with them on this mitigation project to control basically the ash and everything from the Alexander Mountain Fire. So we will use our mitigation crew to support utilities in dropping trees in an engineered fashion to control that runoff if we have a storm. This was, I brought this to the attention of the chairman yesterday with the federal efforts to basically stop any grants that were out there. This is one that I actually called to attention yesterday because I think it's $852, somewhere in that area, $1,000 that utilities is getting, and a portion of that will be for us to do work for them. Thankfully, that's back on track. I don't think that's going to be a problem, but just wanted to bring that to your attention and the fact that we'll have a 4-person seasonal mid crew earlier this year.
Chief, I could piggyback on Chief's comments about yesterday and the conversation we had. It was really a presentation that he did to the Loveland Rotary Club on the Alexander fire. I just want to give the chief some kudos on this. It was an excellent presentation. And even though I work with the chief and the board on a regular basis, I learned a lot. And there was a lot to see from a slideshow, a PowerPoint presentation that he put on that can be very, very beneficial to both boards, the authority board, the rural, and the city council. And just, I want to plant that seed of thought that it might be good for us all to get together and have the chief put on that same presentation for all of us. Had a lot of people come up to me afterwards and comment on what a great presentation it was. Really drove home how that fire could be here again in a hurry. And that, and I remember this time last year, in fact, the chief telling city council, we're fighting the next fire right now. And that was drove home again yesterday. And I think it's very, very important that we be prepared for when this happens again, and it will happen. I mean, we've been through the Cameron Peak, the High Park fire, Marshall. We've had them up at Carter Lake and what's the other one, Pine Top up there. I mean, we've had a lot of fires here lately, and I've been evacuated twice myself. Dave, how many times have you been evacuated or been told to evacuate? I'm sorry.
Dave doesn't evacuate.
Yeah, but my point being, it will happen again. It's not a question if, it's a question of when. And I think this presentation would do a lot for all of us, recognizing what all the issues are and the things that need to be done between now and then, so that we're not being second guessed later like they are being in LA right now, and rightfully so.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm happy to do the presentation, not to prolong the conversation, but I think one of the things that I presented that is not public knowledge, and to have three members of city here, I think the important thing that you need to know is there was a conversation from the state IC at the time came up to me and said he wanted to ride off the mountain. That was the decision that he was making based on the reconnaissance that he received. To our credit, we took Chief Smith up there and Chief Jason Goodell, one of our battalion chiefs, and I asked Chief Smith point blank, if you think we can defend it, we're going to defend it, and that's going to be my position. And that was my position coupled with the sheriff, and that's where I talked about the relationship with the sheriff. Our relationship with Sheriff Fan is incredible, and he and I said we're going to fight this, and it wasn't ours to basically say ultimately. It was up to the state at that point. But when we came down, we said you need to take another look. They sent somebody up there to take another look. But my feeling is, and I stand by this, and I think Chief Smith's with me on this, is I don't think we would have lost a single house if we had full control of it. And this is the importance of the LFRA and the role that we play, not only in the city of Loveland, but this entire community. We got a voice in our current format. We don't have a voice when we take it in a different configuration. And it is so important that I convey that to you. That was a big day. And for us to be united and to be able to say we're not writing 600 houses off, I challenge anybody to say they're comfortable with that decision. Because I can tell you, I don't want 600 houses being lost on my watch. So, and I know Sheriff Fagan didn't either. So, fair enough.
Thank you. Just real quick, this is President Dave Leggett's in the back. He came in a little bit late, and Jim Thompson, a new city manager, but Dave's president of the Rural Fire Protection District, lives up in Storm Mountain, which is where a big part of the fire was.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice meeting you.
We didn't evacuate. We had a little vigilante fire crew and saved 4 houses back where I live, and just fought a lot of fire, did a lot of good.
As the fire chief, I can attest to that because I drove back there and yeah, they were fighting a hot fire.
I was with you. We watched and Dave worked.
So it's a matter of self-defense because the incident management team wrote off those 4 houses. That's too dangerous.
We did just fine. We didn't lose anyone. I can't say that about the timber. Probably lost, I don't know, 3 acres of mature ponderosa. Now replant all of it.
Thanks for being here, Dave. Chief.
I'm sorry, Jim. I will make it brief. This last item, I just want to kind of take advantage of the educational opportunity. So we signed an IGA with LPD this year. I have brought this up to the board a few times before. So in the past, the LPD obviously funded through the general fund, but our communication center is a 4-way communication center with Berthoud, Thompson Valley, ourselves, and LPD. I called it to the attention of city finance that we were contributing way more than our partners. So Thompson Valley does the lion's share of EMS. They run every EMS call. We run a portion of the EMS calls. They were paying less than we were to the communications. Berthoud was paying less per call than we were. So obviously there was a problem there. So we worked with city finance and came up with the conclusion, and I want to advocate that this needs to be a temporary solution. So what we agreed to for 2025 is to do it on a per call basis. Now, on the surface, one would say that sounds reasonable. You pay your portion of how many calls you go on. Well, here's a little problem with that is Thompson Valley goes on EMS calls with us. So we're being charged twice as much for every single call. So I had agreed to sign this IGA, which just on the surface is a substantial savings to the city. So as we go through budget cuts and everything else, what wasn't presented to folks was that we saved the city $214,000 by me calling that to their attention. This isn't about me. I just happened to bring this to the attention. LPD is now paying $214,000 less annually to the communications center. Now, this isn't LFRA against LPD. What I'm telling you is I've agreed to this IGA, but I think we need to revisit this IGA. More importantly, I think we need to look at a regional communications center. There's also a 2016 study that says we can save $3.2 million in 2016 by simply regionalizing our communications. Now, why is that important? And why would I bring it to your attention at this point? Because we are at the cusp of needing to change out technology. And each of the 5 PSAPs representing our county are asking LEDA to fund these PSAPs and all of this technology. Well, the problem with that is you disperse that money across 5 PSAPs, that money diminishes very quickly and you lessen the advancements of your technology. So what I'm advocating is let's do a study. Let's see if this regional approach is the best approach, which I firmly believe it will be, but you don't need to take my word as an overly ambitious fire chief. I think it'll come out in any study. It'll say it is a better approach. And I say it from a tactical and a strategic perspective. When the Alexander Mountain fire occurs, the best thing that you have is common communications. The Achilles heel of any mass operation is communication. We don't fix this now, we're just dumping money into something that we have a key opportunity to fix. So I share that, and obviously I got a little passion behind it because I am frustrated with the fact that we're having to contribute so much. We have an opportunity in our backyard or front yard, depending on how you look at it, out at LEDA to make this right.
Just ballpark figure, can you remind us about the dollar amount per call? First part of my question. And second part is, what is the obstacles that are keeping us from saving $3.2 million and going to a regional communications center?
So both great questions. So the first thing, in 2023, we were paying $25.32 per call. So that's every 911 call. Doesn't sound like a lot, builds up, okay? We are now paying $29.91, which is consistent across all 4 stakeholders. Everybody pays exactly the same. But bear in mind, a dispatch for an EMS call is coupled with Thompson Valley and LFRA.
So they're getting $60 rounded off per call.
Yeah. And my position from the start wasn't to impose more on LPD, was simply to say Thompson Valley should be paying the full freight. It's an EMS cost. We are subsidizing them from that perspective. And my position is they should pay the full freight. If this is the model we go to for 2026, 7 or whatever, I would advocate that Thompson Valley needs to pay that full freight.
So who makes this decision?
Well, it would be this board making this decision because you're the one that's going to authorize this IGA. But here's the other dynamic, and Jim is incredibly well-versed in this coming from the Phoenix area. They have a regional dispatch center. Well, when you have a regional dispatch center, you also have an equal voice as a stakeholder. I don't have an equal voice in this. LPD runs the communication center. And this is, again, not an LPD LFRA issue. Being a stakeholder means I have a seat at the table and I have a voice. I don't have the voice that I feel I need to have. I should be assisting in the hiring process, the selection process, the training process, and the advancement of technology. We don't do that. And I think we should play that role. Jim, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm pointing at you. I mean, and I apologize for that.
Well, at the end of the day, it ends up.
Yeah, so please don't take it the wrong way.
So it's a city decision.
Well, it's a city-run facility. This, I feel like I'm bashing on people. Please don't take it that way.
No, we just need to understand it better. I do anyway.
That's where it is. We have 4 entities contributing to a city facility, city-run facility. And I think we can do better. But this is only one. This is one PSAP. We have 4 other PSAPs. Estes, you have Larimer County, you have Fort Collins, you have Jackson County now in the mix as an additional PSAP, and then you have CSU. So all of these PSAPs are demanding funds, okay, the surcharge of 911 calls through the cell phone goes to LEDA. LEDA divvies that out. And what we're doing is we're spreading it out across 5 entities. When we could do it at one with redundancy or a backup of Fort Collins or somebody like that. And what's disturbing to me is this 2016 study hit it spot on. And they said it so elegantly that the reason this won't work is because of politics. Well, when lives are at risk, politics need to go by the wayside. We need to navigate that before we put somebody at risk. And that's what I'm advocating for. So one more point. To your point, why are we sitting at this juncture? It's because LEDA can't lead the study. LEDA can't say, hey, we want the study, okay? And to that point, we have our IT director serving on the LEDA board, which has been a historical thing. I disagree with that adamantly. That's not the place for the IT director to be serving. There should be somebody from the public safety arena. We're the ones that are the recipient of the services. If we need a technological viewpoint, we lean on IT. But to that point is I need to get that board to understand that we need a regional study to basically make a determination whether this is the right move.
Sorry to keep asking questions, but does the sheriff's department come into play there? Because we're much bigger than just the city of Loveland. So it's a rural call, that's a police call. Who pays that?
They all come into play. So where there has been pushback, so I have met with Sheriff Fan on this, and he was in agreement to do the study or to advocate for the study. Chief Charles advocate for the study. Chief Robinson advocate for the study. When you transition over to the PD side, there's less of a push for a regional communication center. Fort Collins is adamant. They don't want any part of it, which is fine. We need redundancy, so they would be the backup. But here's the thing that disturbs me. It doesn't serve the law enforcement as well as it serves us. We have closest unit response. So a berthed unit passing through our city could be pulled for a call because they're the closest. That's the way you do emergency services. Quick, immediate response. Remove the political barriers. PD doesn't worry about that as much as we do. We don't even have connectivity through a multiple changing of channels we do with Greeley Fire, but we should be able to track Weld County units. They should be able to track our units. There's all kinds of additional advantages that we're missing out on right now because of this divide. So
So if we go to a regional one, would that include the sheriff's department?
We would certainly advocate it. I mean, as strategic partners, we would want the sheriff's department as a minimum, sheriff's department, Berthoud, Thompson Valley. Those are our immediate partners. Wouldn't want to close the door to anybody. We've had this conversation with Chief Charles. If we start this process and we make it successful, everybody else is going to want to be part of it. But those entities right there cover our immediate flanks and gives us the technology that LEDA has to offer.
Why not Windsor?
Jeff, I have a question.
Windsor kind of is in that divide. They serve both counties, Weld as well as Larimer. We would certainly extend that invite. The question on the immediate side, is it to their advantage? And that's where the fire chief there would have to make that decision.
Paul, yes, go ahead.
Yes, hey, Tim, we've talked about this for several months now, and I think your points are spot on, and there's an immense amount of savings that could be passed along to organizations. That being said, could you lay out a roadmap of what needs to be done, who the stakeholders are? I feel like we got a tire in the sand and we keep talking about it, and I know it's not all in your hands, Tim. That's not my point. My point is, if you were to look at this as a task or a mission, what do we need to do? What do you need to do to push this down the road to get some traction and to see what we can do to make it happen? Because it seems like we're talking about it, and I know you're very passionate about it. What can we do to make this thing, push it down the road and do another study, whatever we need to do?
Yeah, and Paul, I appreciate that. I think we're on that path. I have a meeting with LEDA to help me kind of create that path and to continue the conversation. And it's also bringing in the other stakeholders, the Chief Robinson, Chief Charles, and the sheriff to really come together. But ultimately, once we put that together, we will need somebody to basically advocate at a LEDA meeting that directing LEDA to do a third-party study is basically what we're going to need.
And who would be that advocate, if I might?
It could be any of the folks who have signed on to the LEDA IGA. There are 32 signatures on the LEDA IGA. So any of those parties, so us, Berthoud, Thompson Valley, all of them are all on it. So we all could basically advocate for it. Now, the next immediate question will be who's going to fund it? Well, that's the other mistruth. Right. People are saying it's going to be $100,000 consulting study, and I firmly believe it won't be $100,000. I think $50,000 may be a more reasonable figure, and Jimmy may have more experience on that. But I think it's a doable project. So,
Chief, so I live in a rural now. I call 911, and that goes to LEDA, correct? Where would the sheriff know?
It goes to.
No, it most likely goes to our dispatch center, our emergency communication center. It could go to, depending if it's a landline, it would go to Loveland. If it's a cell phone, most likely Loveland, but it could go to Bremer County.
I mean, everybody has cell phones for the most part. Now, a lot of people don't have landlines. It just seems like all these entities, sheriffs, all the city, we ought to all be tied in together some way. We probably got a lot of duplication and costs that we don't need to have. And it looks like there could be immense tax savings there.
It's 3.2 million in 2016.
Okay.
That's all I have. 240.
Comments from the board?
Speaking of.
Yeah. Community Safety Division update. Carrie happened to send me this one. Didn't know it was going to be back to back with the last conversation, but the inspectors have been working out at LEDA's new building. So they purchased the building just to the south of their existing building, and they're moving their offices and the backup dispatch center to the new building. And then the Division of Fire Prevention and Control and the Forest Service are moving their dispatch into the existing LEDA building on the second floor. County EOC will still remain on the first floor of the existing building. So some of the details about the space, that's 25,000 square feet. LEDA will be on the second floor. On the first floor, there's a partner space, which it benefits us. We've had different events and promotion processes and stuff out at their facility in the past. So it's free for any of the partner agencies that LEDA supports. So we can go out there. It's going to go up to 75 people, which I think is an increase of about 20 people from what they have now. So that's good. And then the backup dispatch center will also be on the first floor in the new LEDA building.
So the importance of that DFPC reference, I mean, that puts us at the tip of the spear. So, because that state resources deployed out of that communication center. So it really kind of ties it into a full-fledged public safety campus as far as communications.
The DFPC and US Forest Service dispatch, I forgot to mention this, I did for the rural board. That's not a 911 dispatch center. That's when they're dispatching out resources to large fire in the south part of Colorado, or we're requesting help and they're dispatching those resources and building those resources and sending them out, helping with sending resources to California that we just had. So it's not a 911 dispatch center. They're dispatching for big incidents. Logistics update, a couple vehicles. The one on the left is our logistics tech's new truck. That position was funded through the rural district, and we needed a vehicle for him to drive. We purchased this one. It's got a utility box on it. They're going to load supplies in it, one for their daily, or I shouldn't say daily, most of the time it's weekly deliveries to the station when they order medical supplies. They order other supplies from our warehouse or the city warehouse, they'll deliver those. And then they're also loading it for second alarm responses. So if we have a second alarm, it will bring extra air bottles, it'll pull our air trailer, it'll have extra bottled water on it, salvage covers, the things that we need for a bigger fire incident so it can come out to the scene. It'll be kept here at Station 1, so if our logistics tech isn't on duty, anybody can grab it and take it out to the scene to provide those services. The one on the right, Lieutenant Dedecker is pretty excited about. We replaced one of our brush trucks, and this new one will go to the seasonal crew that Mod 48. This was kind of a hybrid. Dave Liggins probably recognized as part of that, we reused part of the truck we were replacing with some of the boxes and the bed and stuff off of that one to build this new one. So turned out very nice. Facilities, it changed a lot since this, but that's basically the foundation for the new burn prop that the shipping containers get set on and built out of. Right now there's concrete around at least part of that foundation now as we continue to work to get the entire pad in around it. The hydrants are all in. They're shipping the boxes to us February 21st. They leave Texas, and the crane will be on site February 24th to start assembling the building. So finally, we're going to see some growth going up with that one. Health and Safety Committee, I think I told the rural board, I went on vacation in October and came back, and Health and Safety was added as one of the assignments I had while I was gone somehow. I missed the meeting. Exactly. So I'm going to start just throwing a slide in every once in a while on some health and safety things that we're doing as an organization. So we just got in the process of putting a safety committee together. That was one of the recommendations from our accreditation. It was something that we did a few years ago, and then we kind of went away from it, and the battalion chiefs were handling a lot of our safety related items, and now we're bringing the safety committee back. So we've got a wide variety of people from the organization, both divisions, that are involved in that. And that's something really cool that the peer support team just recently got to participate in. Hearts and Horses is working on a first responder therapy program, and their pilot program, they brought together some of the peer support teams from Loveland Police, Larimer County Sheriff, at Loveland Fire, some of our regional ones to go out and go through the program first and provide feedback. So we had a couple people participate, and they really enjoyed it. So hopefully we get to help build that program out by the feedback they provided. Some of the community education that January sent me. I'm not sure what the deal was with the teddy bears. Did those go on the fire trucks? Do you know? I don't,
They were donated
okay.
to children who were in the hospital over Christmas.
Oh, nice. Okay. That one's one of the bigger teddy bears I've ever seen.
He was driving the truck.
Was he?
Yeah.
In the center is Jared, our fire inspector that brought the wreath program to Loveland, where we had the red lights on the wreath at each of the stations, and if we had a fire through the holidays related to holiday decorations, holiday cooking, we were removing bulbs, and thankfully, I think all the bulbs remain lit through the whole holiday season. So great program. We'll bring it back again next year. And then always good photos with January and the kiddos. She loves it.
All right, get us caught up on our incidents. So some of you may remember this, but there was a person in one of the dumpsters that got a ride into the back of the trash truck. So we
An interesting way to put it.
yeah, sorry. Figure that one out. So we had to help them out. When we use this technique, maybe not often, but we're very versed in it. And so we helped them get out of the trash truck and got the transport and taken care of. This one was a fire at Rosebud Motel. I don't know if it's back in service yet. I was trying to see if Carrie was in the audience, but that the southern portion of the property, there's approximately 6 to 8 units in there. As far as I know, they're not back in. We need to do some remodel work for the fire that they have.
I remember we've had fires there in the past.
Yeah. Like the third one maybe. Fire up in Cedar Cove. It was about a 15 by 20 or so outbuilding that had a wood burning stove in it. We're not exactly sure what had taken place, but that caught fire. Was immediately adjacent to the home. Luckily enough, they were quick about making sure that was out and not getting the home on fire. This was another structure fire, Ford pickup truck that was in the garage that caught fire, and it luckily stayed to the garage with pretty significant damage and smoke damage throughout the home.
You should note there was a Harley damaged as well.
Oh yeah, sorry.
When the
So-
firefighter edition.
Could you back up one? What station responded to that big T-can?
So the closest station was Station 7 behind Big Thompson Elementary. Lieutenant Bedecker happened to be at Station 8 when this call dropped, so he was our first person there.
Wrong call too. This.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the one up the canyon.
Up the
Oh,
canyon.
yeah, he's right.
Yeah, this one was up the canyon, so it's, if you're familiar with Cedar Cove, it's what, 3 miles from Station 8 or so. So we had a quick response time and gave us some good intel, but this pickup truck doesn't have any firefighting abilities on it, so. Yeah, well, no, was this?
The weekend, right?
It was a Friday. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it was a Friday. Yeah, we hit that one. This one was basically a head-on collision that was in the canyon as well, near the Idlewild Lane turnoff, again, maybe a mile from Station 8. We do have one of our newer canyon members that lives pretty close to Station 8. He was our first member on scene. There was a Glen Haven firefighter that drove by the incident and a deputy that also got on scene prior to our folks, but it was a dual extrication. You can kind of see in the picture to the right, the white Explorer that we had to extricate the driver out of, and then the red Dodge pickup, we had to extricate the driver out of that one. It's hard to see in the left picture, but that is a helicopter, medical helicopter that took one of the patients. There was a younger patient that left early into the incident, was not as critical as the other 2 patients. There's a lovely horse. I thought his name was Bruce, but Sonny. Yeah, he's blind in one eye. This is our second attempt. When the picture to the right, our firefighters were pretty scared. They did not want to watch Sonny not make it, so it was an all hands on deck. We had a lot of crews there trying to help us one out.
How old is Sonny?
I don't know. He's old.
He's on his third life. We know that.
crew that just got back yesterday. They left on January 11th, like 6 o'clock in the morning, and drove out to California. And the picture below to the far right is Lieutenant Chris Smith, and middle's Braden Marker, Engineer Braden Marker, and then firefighter Tanner Sharp. They shared some pictures. They basically said, imagine the Alexander Mountain fire blowing east, and we're walking through downtown and it's all gone. So just to kind of give you a reality check, winds can be a nightmare for wildland fires. Sorry, kind of late coming up. And then last Friday we had a fire at a duplex. We were able to get some really good intel at the very beginning of the incident. A neighbor heard the smoke alarm, called the occupant checked their camera, saw smoke in the house. So we were upgrading this incident kind of on the fly. But they were able to get inside quickly and put the fire out. Luckily, they saved 2 cats. Well, as far as I've heard, most recently, 2 cats and a husky. That's it.
Questions?
Yeah, I do, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but this federal funding hole, call it, for lack of a better term, but started yesterday or the day before, and a judge put it on hold on Monday. I was home at lunch, and the OMB reversed it, but there's still another entity involved. So what I'm hearing, it's not over, so I don't know.
Yeah,
if you
I
can
mean,
update
that's
us on-
all I did yesterday, was try to figure out what's going on and push. I was actually talking to your staff. I was pushing information out to all of my clients, and I would get an update out 15 minutes later, it would change. I think the best information we have now is that the memo was released on Monday saying it's going to be our policy to stop all federal spending to states or organizations. But it was not stated clearly, as we all know, slated to go into effect at 5 p.m. Eastern time Tuesday. I told Chief this authority was the very first plan I thought of because of the potential impact on the health and wellness center, right? That contract is being reported. And but the potential loss of Medicaid funding was also gravely concerning to me because many of my clients run ambulance service. And so without Medicaid funding, they would still have to respond and they wouldn't even get back their Medicaid reimbursements. So I was getting information out very quickly. Federal judge in DC put a stay on the order until February 6th. 23 at last count, state attorney generals were preparing a lawsuit on constitutional grounds. Phil Weiser has added the state of Colorado to that lawsuit. And that was pending to be filed. And then this morning, the OMB walked back the Monday memo. It said, never mind, basically. I mean, it's literally 2 sentences. It says that Monday's memo has been rescinded and contact your department's general counsel if you have questions. I have not heard the last part of that you mentioned, which is maybe there's a second entity, but that wouldn't surprise me. I think nobody knows what's going on up to and including the folks who are issuing the orders. And so we will just continue to monitor it and provide information as we're able, as things become known. That stay would still be effective until February 6th. Then I suppose the state's attorney generals could still file a lawsuit, right? And my expectation would be that any lawsuit filed would either extend that stay or create a new one, but I don't know. Yeah.
I've seen a couple emails. I'm involved on the transportation side. Saw a couple of emails from our congressional people that they're asking to let them know something becomes in danger, so they can keep a running list, obviously, and show it to whoever they need to show it to.
It was alarming. So yeah, so we're watching it. When I first heard about the effect of the order, particularly on Medicaid funding, as states started reporting that portals went down, I called my colleague Dino and I said, I feel like I should get a legal advisement out, but I don't know what to say, right? I can't fix this. I don't even know what's happening and nobody else seems to either. And Dino said, I think that's what we tell them. So we put the information out, but the best advice is to talk with your funding partners who are providing the grant money. For those that run ambulance, talk to your billers. We'll do what we can, but I think what the best thing that we can do right now as legal is just monitor and provide information. So that's what we're doing.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
Other comments or business come before the board? Okay.
Jeff, I've got something, please. Jeff?
Yes. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Paul.
Yeah, this is sort of directed to Jim, but also the rest of the group. It's been almost a year since we had our joint meeting to discuss turning our organization into a district, and we made some progress. I think we spent significant amount of money in different, not only use of time, but attorney's fees, et cetera, to get down the road to a certain point. And then in September, at least the rural, we said, let's just back off until the city, gets their taxation issue on the ballot, et cetera. So we're now almost into February, and I haven't heard a whole lot if we even have a steering committee anymore. It's something that we need to either get going or put a halt to, in my opinion. The rural had, went out on a limb and increased our millage through our constituents, and they voted for it in the effort to become a district. So we I'm just talking from the rural perspective, and Jeff, you can please disagree with me or Dave, but we as a rural need to know where this is going, because we need to either roll back our mills or give refunds or rebates, whatever we decide to do with the monies that we've acquired through the additional mill levy. But we need to know what's going on, and in good faith with the city, figure out where they want to go with this. I'm one person on the rural board. I know this is an issue that we brought up in our rural meeting. It's kind of hard to take it seriously from a disembodied voice, Jim, but it's something I'd like to hopefully get up to speed through the chief or through Brian or a combination of both individuals, so we can figure out where we're going with this. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. Chief, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously Jim and I have had very brief conversations, but I'd love to have the opportunity to engage with you and kind of bring you up from our perspective on it, and we decide where we want to go, and then readdress it with the board.
And I'll take some responsibility for slowing down the impetus on this. And I've been telling the rural board, let's let the new city manager get in here, and let's have some conversations with him so that we can decide how to move forward on this. And it is very important to the rural so that we can make some financial decisions.
And certainly on my side, I'll look forward to getting up to speed on that. We have a few other entities out there, be it, the airport and the library and others that have similar discussions, maybe authorities or districts. And so I have to look at the bigger financial picture of where we're at and what those capabilities are, because, obviously the library may come forward and say, well, we want your mills. And then this board may decide, if we form a district, they want our mills, but there's only so much in that capacity, since the levy is so low in comparison to other jurisdictions. It puts us in a curious position because I still have to provide all the other city services. So I got to get my arms around that before I could have an educated discussion of what that looks like and timing of that. And then likewise go and discuss it with the mayor and council and the community as to what their determination is. But I think it's a greater question. Chief and I, at least during our short amount of time driving, the other evening, started to talk about all the different, opportunities that may lie to really get our services to where they need to be across all the services that are provided in the community, and how best to do that and find that formula. Let's say it's the same in talking about PSAPs and, when we talk about dispatch centers and regional centers and all those others, there may be some inherent savings that you could then, reduce the tax burden to everybody. And likewise with school districts and all the other taxing entities, what does that look like? There's a little bit of, I'm in that learning curve right now, and the list is long, to be quite honest. So, but certainly I'll get with the chief and Brian, and we'll have some of those discussions of where we're at. So you all can make an informed decision on the district side of what that looks like and what the timing might be. I haven't heard anything negative or anybody say, it's just a bad idea. I think there's just some concerns and other things that have to be figured out and ironed out before we can, get to that point to move in that direction. And then obviously the biggest thing is to get the community support.
Fair enough, and we'll let the chief, I guess, bring you up to at least initial speed on it. And you may already know this, our intent is not to spend any more money on part of the taxpayers. We'd like to keep this revenue neutral for the city and the rural both. It's the logistics behind it. And does it make sense to be a district, or does it make sense to be an authority? If it's gonna cost more money, I don't think anybody's interested in going to the district for that reason. We're interested in better service to the community as a whole, keeping it on a level playing field. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think we need to explore all options, and see what works best for us. Understanding what all parties are involved in the limitations on the city side and so forth, so.
Chief, do you remember how much, a couple of years ago when we went for the sales tax hike specifically for the fire department until we could form a district with, 0.37? Do you remember how much that fell by?
3%.
3%.
And I'm not just pulling that off the top. Yes, I know, 3%.
Okay, all right, thank you. I mean, it's the closest we've come.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I thought the finance people were still meeting. Is that not the case?
No, I mean, to the chairman's point, I mean, it was waiting on Jim, and to Brian's point too. I mean, Brian's dealing with a budget that was slashed. It really didn't make sense for us to try to work out a plan under these unknown circumstances. So I think we're there now, and I think we really need to have those conversations. So thanks, Paul, for bringing it forward.
Absolutely.
Any other business comments, questions? Okay, hearing none, thank you. We're adjourned.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you.